Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and the Executive and the Deputy First Minister and I have been continuing our work on Northern Ireland's roadmap to recovery from COVID-19, and all of our departments are inputting into our plans, and it does remain a work in progress, and we will do further work over this next couple of days. So let me say we recognise the desire for clarity for businesses, for families and indeed for all of our society, but we're also fully committed to the scientific and specialist medical advice. And so the Executive have reviewed the health protection coronavirus regulations, as we are required to do by law every 3 weeks. And today we have decided not to make any alterations to the regulations. We still believe that they are needed and are proportionate to deal with the threat of the spread of the virus. In different regions, the virus is at different stages of progression, and the virus transmission rate, or R0, in Northern Ireland remains about 0.8, and that is higher than parts of England where the virus emerged earlier than it did here, and is more in keeping with the situation in Scotland and Wales. And whilst it is good that our R0 or our R0, as it's sometimes referred to, is at 0.8, and that is below the critical 1-0 marker, it is not yet as far below 1 as we would like it to be. And we recognise that our approach needs to be flexible and adaptable to change. And next week we will consider a number of minor adjustments to the restrictions and indeed to their interpretation. We had calls today with the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland at lunchtime and the Prime Minister this afternoon. And we expect to be in further dialogue with the Prime Minister over the weekend with a COBRA on Sunday. We do have to tread carefully in relation to COVID-19, as the Prime Minister has said, with maximum caution. But we know people are keen for reassurance that there will be light at the end of the tunnel. And part of the returning towards normal again, or the new normal, will be about building community confidence. And there are measures we can take to help enhance that confidence. And in that context, the Executive has agreed that the public consider the use of face coverings for short periods in enclosed spaces where social distancing is not possible. Now, it is important to differentiate between the use of face masks manufactured for a clinical setting and face coverings, which are often homemade or natural clothing items used by individuals in day-to-day life. And we are focused on face coverings. The Executive's decision is based on the view of our own specialist advice and is consistent with the position of SAGE, which has concluded that, on balance, there is enough evidence to support the recommendation of community use of cloth face masks for short periods in enclosed spaces where social distancing is not possible. We again salute the heroic efforts of those working in health and care across so many of our critical areas to keep Northern Ireland functioning. And we are aware of the challenges that are being faced in our care homes where there have been clusters of COVID-19. And we are conscious of the need to ensure that we are doing everything we can to support the efforts of those workers who have bravely stepped up to look after our precious residents. So before I finish, let me say something about the 75th anniversary of VE Day tomorrow. We do, of course, salute the bravery and sacrifice of those during World War II who faced down the terror of Nazism. And we could not have imagined 6 months ago that these celebrations would be taking place against the backdrop of another fight. However, this fight is very different. It involves an invisible enemy. And the death toll that COVID-19 exacts depend on people unwittingly sometimes spreading the virus. So while in normal circumstances people would be celebrating the 75th anniversary with commemorative events, barbecues and street parties, we must resist the temptation to do all of those things. And the best way we can honour those in World War II who fought for freedom and won, the best way we can honour those who are fighting for us today on the health front line, is to stay at home as much as possible and follow the public health advice. Our world is a long way away from its VE Day in the fight against coronavirus. And compared to the sacrifices asked of our parents and grandparents and sometimes great-grandparents, What is being asked of us now seems very small, but it is hugely important. COVID-19 has not been defeated, and it will not be defeated until a vaccine has been successfully trialled and made available. It thrives when there are gatherings, and if it is allowed to spread, it exacts a heavy toll on families and communities. So mark the VE Day anniversary at home and resist the temptation to bring together family and friends. Because the last thing you would want to do is to find yourself regretting the loss of a loved one or a friend because you ignored the public health advice. And like the World War II generation, we will get through this, we will emerge stronger, we just have to be disciplined in order to get there. Thank you.